the Change Ensemble under the direction of Minister Tyrone Richardson, accompanied by Chris Garland. Right now, brothers and sisters, I want you to get on your feet. At home, I want you to put your hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. 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 Fist bump the person next to you, tell him you love him. Some of what has happened during this year. This is the last Saturday of 21. When we meet next Saturday, it'll be the first of the next year. And when I think about things that happened this year, I think about how I was headed to Minneapolis, Minnesota, to join the family of George Floyd for the trial of the officer Derek Chauvin, who killed their brother, their uncle, their father. And when they chose the jury, 11 whites, 1 black, I thought about how I sat in the courtroom in Albany, New York, when the jury came back and acquitted those police on killing Amadou Diallo. Thought about how I sat in Queens with the family of Sean Bell, when they acquitted. After shooting 50 times, Sean Bell, they acquitted those cops. When I saw that jury, I got a little discouraged. And I got a little preparing myself to prepare the family that maybe we got it in court, but we didn't get justice. But some told me to keep on going. And to keep on fighting, that in God's own way, He make a way out of nowhere. And I remember that I was sitting there with the family, and they told us to get back to the room. They were getting ready to announce the verdict. And the verdict came in that May of this year. And 11 whites and 1 black found this man guilty. And it told me that if you don't give up and you don't give out, Even when it looks like they stack the odds against you, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change is gonna come. Remember that while they were doing summations in the case of George Floyd and Chauvin, that we got word that just 10 miles up the road in a place called Brooklyn Center, a policewoman had shot and killed a young 20-year-old unarmed man. Family sent for us, and Ben Crump and I and others went there. I ended up doing the funeral just like I did for George Floyd. I did the funeral for this young man, Dante Wright, and sent Reverend Toon to the trial of that policewoman. And Reverend Toon called me and said, family knows you're in Washington working on voting rights, trying to get Manchin and them around. He said, but I want you to know it doesn't look well. There's 9 whites on this jury. Then Asian and 1 black. I said, here we go in Minnesota again. But they called me the other day, Mr. Wright said the verdict is in. And in Minnesota again with an almost all-white jury, they found a white police woman guilty of 2 counts of manslaughter. If you don't have short faith, you can believe in a long God and your change will come. Your change. Give him a big hand, our minister of music. Brother Chris, our drummer, give both of them a hand. I see Minister Richardson got on his Santa Claus hat. Don't sit on his lap, Chris, and tell him what you want for Christmas. Don't be tempted. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for our Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. And you that are listening live on Impact Television and other platforms, media platforms of National Action Network, we're happy to be with you live this Christmas Saturday morning from the House of Justice. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hart. Give a hand to our inspirational speaker, Pastor Saints Memorial. Give a hand to Reverend Cassius Rudolph. Now, you know, we announced about in the 30th anniversary that I had told the National Action Network Board that I wanted to start a transition. It's about 3 years for me to do the board, and they have a new president, National Action Network. So we got a committee to, I think it's Jennifer Jones Austin, that is the head of our committee to transition, who's going to succeed me, a succession committee. But I did not know that Cassius Rudolph was going to apply for the job this morning. Now, you know, I figured Stephen Marshall was going to apply. You know, he grew up around here. And I know some others is going to apply to be next president. But Steve Marshall said, I want to invite Cassius Rudolph up to do the inspirational message. And I know Cassius. I knew him from, as he said, from Bethany, where I started in activism there, and my pastor, Reverend Adolphus Lacey, was there. And then he traveled and was field director for my mentor, Reverend Jackson. So I knew Cassius. So I said, oh, that'd be good, no problem, Christmas Day and all. We're going to feed folk after the thing, after the rally, but we're going to have our rally in broadcast. But I think Cassius set you up, Stephen, because you might apply, but that, when he went into that hoop and went, I said, boy, you done got Stephen now. Stephen went over to the engineer and told him, cut the mic, cut the mic. Give a hand, Reverend Cassius. We enjoyed him this morning, and he was good. And I am always, one of the things I talk about all the time, and give a hand, I'm so happy for, first of all, Eric Garner's mother, again, Gwen Powell. And last night, we gave away toys here to children. We don't go through the Santa Claus thing. We let them know the community loves them, and we give them toys. Most of the instruction toys. And Gwen Carr was here with us all night, as well as the board president was with us, Gail Brewer, and our lieutenant governor, Brian Benjamin, was with us. And on Christmas Eve, for them to be with us, and we gave away hundreds of toys here last night. And then as soon as we go off the broadcast, we're going to set up and serve hot meals in here today to the elderly and the homeless that will be coming. And I've got a text from Mayor-elect Eric Adams. He's going to come by and help serve. He'll be by during our service today. And as many of you know, Eric Adams was one of the co-founders of NAM. We started NAM. Attorney Hardy said we needed 5 people to incorporate NAM and sign the incorporation papers, and Eric was one of the 5 that stepped up. He was a policeman then, and next week this time he'll be sworn in the mayor of the city of New York. But I always believed in believed that if you study the Bible, what I was saying is I was also glad to see Brother Gardner for 100 Blacks, and we thank him. We thank him and 100 Black men for every year. They give a big donation to help us feed folk and give toys, and we don't take that for granted. Brother Gardner and 100 Black men. I'm glad to see our coordinator for the New York City chapter, Sister Katrina Jefferson, who had a baby girl. And she's back on her post. And y'all don't kiss her, don't breathe in her, because she got to go home with that baby. And I do not want her baby to be, Kitty cannot get your whatever you got. And so we're glad to see them. We're going to feed folk, and we have right outside in front free COVID tests. Everybody can eat and get tested. Lady said to me, and I got out the car coming in, Cassius, Reverend Al, I just want to shake your hand and give you a kiss. I said, go around the corner, get tested, and come right back. Put that kiss on hold until I get the results of your test. If it takes 2 hours to get the results back, then you got a 2-hour hold on that kiss. Just pucker up and wait. Y'all talking about wait for your change to come, wait for your kiss to come. Let me also announce that tomorrow, here at the House of Justice, we are in celebration of Malika Shabazz, one of the daughters of Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz that made their transition. In memory of her, our Education and Political Action Committee, stand up Sister Dawn Jones, who's on our national board. They're going to start the Kwanzaa celebration, 9 a.m. to noon, and the one and only legendary Sister Camille Yarborough will be the presenter right here at the house next Saturday at 9 o'clock, next Saturday, at on January 1st, next Saturday morning. Kwanzaa starts tomorrow. So I want everybody to Nguza Saba. One of the things that you must have is you must have values and principles. One of the reasons that when they got out of bondage in Egypt and headed to the promised land, we always talk about how they wandered in the wilderness 40 years and worshiped golden images and did wrong. When you've been in bondage for hundreds of years, you lose any sense of your values, any sense of behavior, and you become wild. And that's what happened to the children of Israel. They got out of bondage. Egyptians had erased their values, had erased their beliefs, and they became at random wild because they were not grounded in their own culture and who they were. Right. Well, same thing happened to us. We were in bondage 256 years, then 100 years of Jim Crow. When we finally started getting out a little, we went crazy. And many of us still crazy. But Dr. Malana Karanga and others sat down and tried to write these 7 principles to get us back to where we ought to be. And that's what Kwanzaa. The thing I think about it, if you remember, you'd have been in there in a while, on the 50th year of Kwanzaa, he came and did it here in the House of Justice, right on this stage. And thing I like about it is that when they put it together, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, there was always the friction between some that were nationalists, some that was revolutionary, some that were civil rights, and you know, everybody was fighting and debating. And you got some of it now, but it's more mild than it was. But Dr. Karanga said we're going to start Kwanzaa, even though he was a nationalist, on the day after Christmas. Because we're not fighting y'all that believe in Christmas, we are extending it. And that's the kind of operational unity we ought to practice. So if you all that celebrate Christmas, which I do and believe in, there's no conflict in also starting tomorrow Kwanzaa. That's right. And you ought to teach your kids both. Because they need the principles, starting with unity and all the way through the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Give Dawn Jones and them a big hand. So the next Saturday, 9 o'clock, they're going to get started. And then, of course, we are going to go forward with the broadcast for the first Saturday of the year. I want to also congratulate and thank Reverend DeVest Toon for staying with the family of Dante Wright throughout the trial in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And I was not able to go. We've been really working hard on and trying to get this voting rights thing. We got a little closer to where we want to be, but not there yet. But he was able to get that covered, and I really want to give him a big hand. Give him a big hand. one of the things that I think is important is as we look at the question of what we are fighting at the end of this year, one of the traditions that we have is that we come together. When I look at Cassius, what I was saying, referring to is that everything that I have studied in the Bible and about the Bible is that God deals from generation to generation. God does not deal in confusion. He deals in continuity. So if you look at the struggle throughout the Bible's a story of struggle now. A lot of y'all, get too deep in the emotional side. Then you don't get in the doctrinal side, the doctrines. The Bible is about the children of Israel struggling out of bondage and then forming a state. And it is a prototype, if you study it right, of what other peoples, including us, should go through. That's what the Bible is. Now you try to take the part of the Bible that is easy for you. You like the hallelujah jump and shout side. Some of y'all like the hymn side. And been singing David's songs. Some of y'all like other sides. Heal me when I'm sick side. Forgive me when I'm wrong. And you go out and do wrong some more. But you don't like the struggle side, the liberation side. You got to believe in the whole book or leave the book alone. And every generation produces the fighters in that generation. And those that will continue that struggle in that generation. So in our time, we've seen the generation of Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy that mentored and trained the generation of John Lewis and Reverend Jackson. They were the youth leaders under them. And that generation trained guys like me and Reverend James Meeks and others, and Mark Morial. We were the youth leaders under Jesse, John Lewis. Now it flows on. God deals in flow. That's why when people get all egomaniacal, like it's all about them, none of this starts or stops with none of us. And if you are really committed to the cause, you would want the cause to continue after you. Because it started before you. So you would just hope to God that you become part of the lineage of those that made a difference. And that's when I look at Cassius, Rudolph, and Lacey, Adolph Lacey, and C. Marshall. There are some coming behind us, women and men. That's the other thing I'm glad that in my generation we got past this misogyny. Come on. When we did the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, we had as many women speak as men. And because we had to get past misogyny and homophobia. But you grow in every generation. And I think that one of the things I was talking to Attorney Hardy the other night is that one of the things that happened is society grows. Y'all need to get this. When Dr. King and Thurgood Marshall and that generation was struggling in the 50s, and I detail a lot of the strugglers that never got recognition in my new book coming out in 2 weeks now, Righteous Troublemakers. And the reason I want to write that book is there were people that never got credit. If I ask you who was Pauli Murray, most of you wouldn't know. She was an attorney that wrote the things that Thurgood Marshall and others use as a legal premise to fight Brown versus the Board of Education. I tell her story in the book. I tell the story of Claudette Colvin. Most of y'all never heard of her. She was arrested 9 months before Rosa Parks because she wouldn't give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery. They wouldn't rally around her because they said she's dark-skinned and pregnant and not married. And she won't be a good symbol. But it was her example that inspired Rosa Parks and the movement. One of the things that they had in those days, there was only 3 networks: CBS, NBC, and ABC, and maybe a side network in some cities like a PIX in New York. And you would watch that by black and white television. I remember when I was born and raised in the 50s and 60s, black and white TV, and you put the hanger in the top as your antenna. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. But by the time you got into the late 70s and 80s, there were more channels. And they began experimenting with cable television. The 70s and 80s into the 90s. So in the peak of the years of John Lewis and Jesse Jackson and Julian Bond, Sylvia Carmichael, that was the media landscape. By the time we came on, Cassius, in my generation, cable TV was dominating the news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and BET and all that. That was in the next wave that people like me worked in. In the wave coming after us, you got live stream now. You got kids now that don't even turn on the television. They watch everything right in their cell phone. And whoever are going to be the central figures in the next generation, they're going to have to learn how to deal with that media landscape. Like I had to deal with mine, and like Reverend Jackson had to deal with his. Because every generation has to organize and work in the generation that they're in. I woke up one morning and Barack Obama was president, who we helped. Well, there was no guidebook for me to study on how you hold a black president accountable and don't undermine him at the same time, because that had never happened before. So I couldn't study Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass didn't have to deal with a black president. Dr. King didn't have to deal with that. Today, we have a black woman vice president. How do you hold her accountable and not beat her down? So we're in areas that every generation has new challenges. And if you're not prepared to study the past and then innovate in the present, you're not prepared for leadership. Leadership is not about who got the mic. Leadership is about using the mic to move the people forward. There's a difference between being an entertainer and being a leader. I read out in another city, I won't call city's name because everybody knows what I'm talking about. Got up and made a speech, and the guy dropped the mic. Walked in the back and said, I dropped the mic. Yeah, you should have never picked it up. You ain't nothing to say. How you gonna drop the mic when you never said nothing when you picked it up? But we perfect entertainment and don't study the landscape. Let me tell you something right now. Christmas Day, 2021. We're ending a year where we proved we could get convictions in court. But if we don't change the law, we will be going playing Russian roulette from one case to the next. You need to change the law. Now, don't underestimate the impact. Because don't forget, Brother Gardner, when we went to Minneapolis, the prosecutor, the local DA, Gwen Carr, Eric Gardner's mother, and I flew into Minneapolis right after it happened. Family, Ben Crump asked me could we go. I called Robert Smith, the billionaire. got a private plane and we went. It was the middle of the pandemic. Most flights had been canceled. Only way we could have got there was a private plane. Not that we was complaining. We sat there like we always flew in private plane. And when we got there that day, the local DA was saying, I want you to watch this now, that he did not know if there was enough evidence to indict. It's because people started marching all over the world. And we started marching and rallying, and things happened that if Gwen Carr would tell you, I was in the car in Minneapolis, and the governor of Minnesota called. And I said, we need a special prosecutor. We can't trust that DA. He said, some of the ministers in Minneapolis just told me that. I think he had talked to Reverend Jackson too, had told him that. I said, we need that. This is unacceptable. The man has already prejudged the evidence. And the protest forced a special prosecutor who was the state attorney general of the state. Is that right? That's right. If we'd not gotten the state to give us a special prosecutor, Keith Ellison, there would not have been an indictment or a trial on Derek Chauvin. That's why all of y'all talk about why are we marching. Marching is what got the case in court. They never intended to indict Derek Chauvin. It was a special prosecutor that came from our rallying and our marching. And when a jury sat up there and convicted for murder a white policeman in Minneapolis, it sent a message to police all over this country. Then you come back, and we're in Brunswick, Georgia. These weren't 3 cops, but one of them had worked in law enforcement. And a jury there, 11 whites in the Deep South. I went down to be with the family. We've been with that case since day one. There's another case. If we had not fought, would have never went to court. The prosecutor said, don't arrest them. Prosecutor said it was self-defense. We started rallying and marching. The mother and father got on my television show, Politics Nation. First national interview they did. Ben Crump and all of us rallying. And finally they found that the prosecutor had a relationship with the father. They had worked together or something. And we were able then, even the Governor Kemp, who Stacey Abrams was running against, said, wait a minute, this case needs to be heard. And they gave another prosecutor from another county. That's how we got that case in court. Marching got that. All of these critics, why they out there raising sand, marching ain't gonna do nothing. Well, there's 2 cases for you this year. I ain't talking about in the 60s, I'm talking about right now. And then this case where they just convicted for manslaughter this woman. Now, police woman. What it does mean is not only, we're not talking about revenge, we're talking about justice. And it does is a couple of things. One, it puts the value of our lives in the minds of our children. Too many of our children are running around gang banging and shooting each other and calling each other out their name because they've been undervalued.
That's it.
When the culture gives you honest to tell you you ain't nothing but a nigga.
Oh,
you ain't nothing but a hoe. You ain't nothing but a B. Then why not gang bang? But when they can look up and see that if you hurt one of us, even if you're a policeman, you're going to jail. that if you hurt one of us, even if the jury room is 11 whites and only one black, and even those whites say, no, you will pay for the value of the life. That is one of the things that we benefited from these trials. Second thing it does is let these folks know that you no longer have immunity from bothering us. A lot of policemen that take their attitudes out on us had to think twice after Derek Chauvin. A lot of policemen have to think twice when you see in Minnesota a white woman cop put her hand behind her back, escorted out in handcuffs. It changes their feeling they can get away with anything. So don't underestimate that. And most of the folk criticize us are folks that ain't never done nothing about nothing but run around criticizing us. But we need the law. So it's not going from one case to the next. Since George Floyd was killed last May, 1,646 people have been killed by police. 1,646, according to the Mapping Police Violence Group. Now, some of them were self-defense, but 1,646, 3 people a day. You got to have a law on that. That's why we're talking about the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Same time, we've been dealing with this voter question. Let me tell you what we're fighting here, because a lot of us don't understand. One of the things that this country was torn apart is that there was always a battle between states' rights and the Union. The whole battle all the way to the Civil War was those that wanted states' rights and those that wanted a union. Now, the Civil War, the Confederates against the Union, was that the Confederates were fighting that they would decide in each one of their individual states how they would govern. Lincoln's challenge was to have a union that it was based on national law. You're with me? This battle around the John Lewis Justice in Policing Act, this battle around Freedom to Vote Act, is a battle between states' rights folks and folks that want to protect the Union. And you got to understand that that is what you fight. And the reason why everybody needs to be a part of the fight is if they get away with states' rights governing elections, they will then go to states' rights on women's right to choose, states' rights on LGBTQ rights, states' right on affirmative action. They will go for a model of a states' rights agenda all over the country, and they will do what they couldn't do in 1865. The Confederate ideology will win this country. That's what you fight. Some folk don't think the Civil War's over. They just think that they lost a couple of battles. The children of those that fought the Civil War has got to fight the children of the abolitionists, and we are the children of the abolitionists. That's why I keep telling you that generational hookup. Right now, reason we put a lot of pressure on the Senate and on the president is right now. The state of Georgia has changed the law where the legislators, state legislators, decide who's going to be in the county boards of election. Right now. Which means that you will have the party that controls the state legislature choosing who are going to regulate the votes, which means they are going to set up who counts the vote.
Right.
So I said we're going to have a succession committee here, 3 years aside. Who's going to succeed me? And I'm going to say, well, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Y'all decide. Okay, but we want a committee. Okay, well, the committee going to be me, Dominique, Ashley, and Marcus Allen. Well, how y'all going to get an unbiased decision if you stack the people count? Well, that's what they're doing right now in Georgia. Right now in Georgia, they have taken off the county boards, put in people they want. That's what Martin Luther King was talking about August 28, 1963, when he talked about governors' lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. So you run around asking me, Sharpton, do you think Stacey Abrams can win? Sharpton, do you think Warnock will get reelected? If we can't get a fair count of the vote, can't nobody win. That's why we've got to make the Senate go around, go under, go through, whatever they got to do this filibuster and pass the John Lewis Act. I was glad day before yesterday, finally President Biden come out and said filibuster shouldn't stand in the way of voting rights. That didn't happen without a challenge. We've been all over Biden. Y'all remember even when he made the voting rights speech in Philadelphia. He came off the stage and I was sitting on the front row with his sister. And he said, what do you think of the speech, Rev Mal? I said, it was a great speech, but you didn't mention one word. He said, what was that? I said, filibuster. You know, you're going to stay on me. I said, you got to do your job, I got to do mine. And we stayed on them, those of us with the 8 legacy organizations that work together. Finally, Biden has now said they got to go around. If they can go around the filibuster for judicial appointment confirmations, right. If they can go around the filibuster to deal with the budget, Build Back Better, because a budget is not subject to the filibuster. They go around it for the fundamental thing that makes this country a democracy. And that's the right to vote. And we're going to stay on that. Martin Luther King III and the Drum Major Institute National Action Network has said there cannot be a King celebration without legislation. Don't be running around here having these Martin Luther King sales and these pious meetings, oh, Dr. King, if we don't have no legislation. We're going to have that as a day of rallying, a day of marching, a day of making the King dream come true. Then at the end, though, why do we fight? Well, we come out of a tradition. Everybody doesn't come out of our tradition. There are many different avenues. There are purposes of fighting for freedom. But Nan comes out of the moral, church-based civil rights movement. A lot of y'all, get shamed and stuff. I did not come to be shamed. I believe in what Dr. King and then Reverend Jackson and others did. I believe in a God-inspired movement. Yeah. Now, you don't have to believe that. We can march together and you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. But don't expect me to be ashamed of what I believe. I'm tired of you guys that apologize. They be talking about, yeah, I'm with you, brother. You know I do. No, I believe what I believe, you believe what you believe. If you can't stand what I believe, you can't stand with me, then don't stand with me. Because what I believe is what brought me this far. I believe that 2021 years ago, that some wise men got a signal and saw a star in the east. And that signal told them that God has sent his son to earth. I believe that. You may not believe that, but I believe that. This ain't your holiday. This is my holiday. You can go get your gift from Santa Claus. My gift came to Bethlehem. I don't need no tree. I don't need no gifts under no tree. My gift came 2021 years ago when God sent his son. Now, why did he send his son? He sent his son to break the yoke, to give people like me that was going to mess up, that was going to fall down, that was going to do wrong. He was going to give us a chance, a second chance. Some of y'all in here may have been to jail, but he died to give you a second chance. Some of y'all might have tore up your homes, but he died to give you a second chance. He didn't come for you high and mighty and those that never made a mistake. He came for the rejected. Every time I faced something in life that I felt was unfair, I thought about that song, Have a Little Talk with Jesus. And I ran Minister Richardson out of being able to make excuses, made some mistakes. I said, but you understand, Jesus. Daddy left and I had to grow up in Brownsville. Jesus said, my father was the head of heaven and earth. He put me in Bethlehem. Bethlehem was a worse ghetto in Nazareth than Brownsville was in Brooklyn. Yeah, I understand that, Jesus, but I was born in Kings County Hospital. I didn't even have private care. He said, your daddy put you in Kings County Hospital. My daddy put me in a barn with cows and mules and the smell of horse manure. That's how I had to be born. Yeah, but I was born in an unequal system. Worse schools. Worse conditions. Jesus said, yeah, but before I could walk, my mom and daddy had to flee to Egypt because there was a plan to kill me at birth. You didn't come through nothing worse than I come through. That's why my daddy sent me through the worst so the worst could understand that if God can lift his son from the squalor and make a way out of no way, God can lift everybody else. That's why I celebrate Christmas. I was born on the other side of the tracks. I was born with the race that wasn't favored in the nation that I was born in. I was born with no health care, no education program. But Mama brought me to church to worship a child that was born in worse conditions. That's why I can get up every Christmas morning, whether you give me a gift or not, and say joy to the world. The Lord has come. He didn't come from the penthouse. He came from a manger. He came in swaddling clothing, but the wise men knew what to do. Let me tell you something else, y'all mess up, and I'll let you go on my Christmas message. The wise men didn't come to get gifts. They came bringing gifts. See, y'all got this Christmas thing messed up. They didn't come and find Jesus and say, what do I get for Christmas? They came to give to Jesus, to worship him. The way you worship Christmas is you look at the gifts God gave you. Some of y'all can sing. Some of y'all can dance. Some of y'all know how to organize. Some of y'all know how to speak. Some of y'all know how to get people together. Whatever gift you got, this Christmas Day, you need to give it back to that baby. Come bring gifts. Give to him and thank him that he gave you life. Whatever you've been through, you still here. Whatever, whoever hurt you, they might have broke your heart, but the pieces still work. I serve a God that takes nothing to make something happen. That's why I got up Christmas morning this morning and thanked him, because no matter what I've been through, I got through. He brought me from a long way. Happy birthday, Jesus. Santa Claus ain't done nothing for me, but you picked me up. You turned me around. You turned my midnight into day. Happy birthday, Jesus. Even when mama had to feed us on food stamps, I never went through a hungry day. Happy birthday, Jesus. Even when we didn't have health insurance, you made a way out of no way. Happy birthday, Jesus. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I'm his own. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Joy to the world. The Lord has come. I don't care about mansion. Joy to the world. The Lord has come. Let earth receive her king. Yeah! Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Someone hears us on radio, sees us in the news, but never joined National Action Network. Never became a member. We have 23 active committees right here in the New York chapter. And then you watching on Impact and watching around the country, we have chapters all over the country. If you're here in the auditorium and want to become a member, there's no better day than on Christmas Day to come and join National Action Network. Just come down to me and we'll sign you up right now on Christmas Day to be a member. If you are watching us, you can call 1-877 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and you can join right on the telephone. Come on, everybody singing. Everybody sing. Come on, everybody singing. Everybody singing. Sing it like you mean it. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. All right, as we are preparing to go off the air, let me tell all of you we're getting ready to raise our offering here at the House of Justice. You that want to support National Action Network or join, you can go on our website, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and you can join right online, or you can call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. You that want to pre-order my book, you can go to www.alsharptonbooks.com and pre-order my book. I want everybody to know that at 11:30, which is about 30 minutes from now, we're going to start serving our seniors, our homeless. The mayor-elect will be here at some point, and we're going to serve all the way through till 3 o'clock. All of you that are here, volunteer. Now, some of you in Radio Land may be having Christmas dinner. You can come help and go back and have your dinner. There's nothing more important to do on Christmas than to do something Christ-like. If I was going to celebrate your birthday, I'd play the music you like. I would do the things you like to do, play the games you like. I wouldn't come to your house and say, no, I like this kind of music, I want this kind of food. I do what you like. Well, on Jesus' birthday, do what Jesus would do. He would feed the hungry. He would show care and comfort to the elderly. And he would fight for justice. That is what Jesus would do. Don't kidnap Jesus' birthday. They done hijacked him and gave it to some guy from the North Pole. I don't know where he got in the middle of it. Got some reindeers and they get lost and nose turn red. What all that got to do with what happened in Bethlehem? Now, I ain't putting it down. Some of y'all need that because y'all need another kind of story. But that ain't my story. I ain't never got in trouble and got on my knees and called on Santa Claus to do nothing. But I called on Jesus. And I heard Mama call. And she heard Grandma call. So I want y'all to act accordingly. All right, let me get ready to raise our offering. Raise our offering. I need y'all to give like you mean it. Y'all that didn't give all your money up buying stuff that's going to be broke by next Saturday. Or stuff you know you can't fit. Water size 30 when you know you got a 40-inch behind. And you talking about you don't know what's wrong with this material. No, it's what's wrong with your behind. All right, I need about 10 people, 10, that can give $100 or more to come quickly. 10 people, the Guardians, $100. Brother David, $100. Minister Winston Gilchrist, $100. Brother Gardner, Michael Gardner, $100. Sean Jordan Hutchins, $100. Claude Herbert, $100. Brother Sean, $100. Reverend Cassius Rudolph, $100. All right, I think I got my 10, but come on. Come on. That's right. Dawn said $100. Ain't that something? Sister Marion, $100. All right, give me 50. I ain't talking about the rapper, I'm talking about my offering, 50. Welcome committee, $50. Minister Stephen Marshall, $50. Sister Helen, $50. From Tony Peterson, $50. Beverly Burgess Hutchins, $50. Minister Carolyn, $50. Kenneth Booth, $50. Diana Dunbar, $50. She's gonna go in. We take credit cards. We take everything but Ghetto Express. But we take everything else. All right, 20s. 20. Now everybody, whatever you have, $1, $5, $10, whatever you have. Moving quickly. Let me tell you how this is gonna go. I'm gonna take in the new members. Then we're going to dismiss. You that want to greet one another or come greet me and fist bump, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna shut down for 10, 15 minutes, move you to the side as they set up so we can start serving people. So let us act swiftly and immediately. Let me bring on our new members. Bring on our members. We have Mark Sanchez and Milton Richardson. Now, Brother Sanchez coming as a lifetime member. He's been around us a long time. Now he's joining as a lifetime member. And we're glad about it. Brother Richardson, we're glad to have you. We're glad both of you stepped up to join our justice family. We need you. We want you. We want your ideas, your thoughts, your involvement. Work with one of our committees. They'll give you orientation. You are as much a member as anybody that was here for all 30 years of NAN's history. And we want you to feel like that, behave like that, and work with us like that. Turn around and face the audience. Give them a big hand. And welcome them to the National Action Network. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. All right. Let us all stand. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now. Repeat after me. We're an African people, robbed of our name, our language, our family, our self-respect. But we shall rise, never to fall again. Of you, mighty race, we can accomplish what we will. No justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. This one with the one you next to.